I think this is one of those games, in the future with all the technology we have, this is one of the games you've got to force your youngster to play, even though they want to play VR.
I don't know.
Maybe I've got a weird view on child rearing. That's probably why I don't have any. I don't know. It's one of those games everyone should play.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. It's just funny to hear you say that.
It's a bit too aggressive.
When I was young, we used to go camping in the woods with a stick.
Exactly. It's that type of era.
My kids to do the same.
Exactly. You're locking that room until you've saved Robo.
Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of everyone's favorite podcast, the Critical Arcade Podcast. I'm your co-host Nick.
And I'm Dave.
Yeah. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Nick. Are you well?
I am well. Thank you for asking. This week earlier we went to a pizza place. I'm just immediately segueing into a pizza story.
I'm about to say you're quite the storyteller. I was hooked.
We went to a pizza place this week. And they gave us, get this, square pizzas.
No. You blow me away.
Where?
Where?
It was, I can't remember the place, the name, but I was quite surprised. Square pizzas. Of all things.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you seem quite easily amused, but I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
No, I didn't though. It was a square pizza.
Oh. This was a bad thing.
This was a bad thing. I'm complaining. Square pizzas? Are you...
Sorry. I thought you liked the gimmick of no longer being round.
No, I didn't. I'm not... I ordered a pizza, not a front door.
You like the reassurance of always getting a round pizza. And
yes,
none of this
please.
Other
Thank
bullshit.
you. What? Who's making these pizzas? Neanderthals?
Like they're using square baking tins instead of proper round... pizza trays.
I didn't like it.
It's such a weird problem to have, but fair enough.
What? If only this is a real problem. Square pizzas. It needs to be raised more. It's the only way it could have been made worse was if they added pineapple or banana.
So, ladies and gents, if you want to hear any more of this type of conversation, listen to us on our Patreon.
Please do, but
I'm
serious,
in-depth
Dave.
pizza insights.
This is a real issue that people need to be aware of. Square pizzas.
Well, I'm lost for words. I didn't even know they existed, and now you've told me the world is less bright. The world is less bright now.
That can't be right. That can't be
true.
right. You need to know. You of all people. Ladies and gents, before the podcasting industry, Dave worked in the hospitality industry or restaurant industry.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell them I was one of the Ninja Turtles. Because of all the people who would know, it would be the Ninja Turtles.
Yes, everyone's favorite Renaissance painter, Dave.
Yeah, have you never heard of him? He was quite a recluse, but he's equally as famous.
Fun fact: the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles don't like square pizzas.
That's probably very true. I'm sure. Who was it? Michelangelo who liked pizzas? I forget which one now.
Michelangelo, Mikey. He's he liked, but I think all of them really liked pizzas. Michelangelo was the one. He was just the most outspoken.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello. I think they all like pizzas, round pizzas.
Yes. This is the greatest segue in our podcast, by the way. But yes, you're right.
This isn't a segue.
Sorry, true. This is the greatest intro. But you're right. I think they all like pizzas. Splinter, I'm not so sure, though.
He's old. He probably I don't know. He most likely... What, does he like anchovies on his pizza?
Well, that said, he's a mouse, so cheese. So he probably was quite a fan of pizza.
That does make sense.
Does.
This week on the Critical Arcade Podcast, ladies and gents, we reviewed one of the best games ever made. I do not say that lightly. How about you fill us in, Dave? What did we play?
Well, we played the 1995, 28-year-old that's older. How old are you?
20. I'm 29. So hey.
Oh, so okay. You were just on the peak of.
I made it. I was here.
That's it. You were around when this game was out, so that makes you on the cusp. That's fine. Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo system.
It really is a generation genre defining game.
It's one of those, like, people discuss it that every once in a while you get one of these games that is just so out of this world, so crazily good. Like, people are suggesting Elden Ring could have been the one for the last 10 years. That's got a bit of contention for me. But Chrono Trigger for the SNES is, even just playing it and then reviewing it in the last few weeks, it's so insane. Just researching it and seeing who's involved, and the things it has in the game itself, which are now kind of like cliche and tropes today, 28 years later, they had in games back then that no one else was doing. It's mind-boggling.
But back then, these things were innovative.
Yeah, 100%. This was never, ever even slightly heard of. The things that we'll talk a bit later. And my favourite part, I'm sure you must have researched it yourself. You know the Dream Team that made this game.
Fill us in. I don't.
Okay, well, there were 3 heads in the development of this game. Now, I'm going to say their names wrong because they're Japanese. So it's Hironobu Sakaguchi.
Sakaguchi. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Heard that name at all? No?
He's Final Fantasy man.
Yeah, he created Final Fantasy.
Yes.
He was like the original. Yeah. Then there's a gentleman called Yuji Horii.
Okay, no, I don't recognize that name.
No, you probably don't. But he invented Dragon Quest.
Ooh.
The games. Right?
Okay. This is getting really hot.
And then the other gentleman you may have heard of, I probably say it wrong again, is Akira Toriyama.
Yeah, Akira Toriyama, another legend. Okay, I get what you mean. Dream Team now.
Yeah, those. Yeah, everybody's
Akira
speaking.
Toriyama, he's DBZ man.
Yeah, he invented Dragon Ball Z and all the other things that go alongside it and stuff like that, and the art style he also invented. And those were the 3 leads to this game. So, like, 3 of the greats, especially in that era, even now, 3 of the greats were the people who were making this game. They worked incredible. Together. It's so crazy. Like the kings of RPG and, of course, Dragon Ball Z and all the other fantastical stories and art styles and big battles. They're all sitting in a room and thought they needed to make a game together. That is so cool.
It is. And this game, it really is sort of almost not hybrid, but you can see the hands of all 3 of those creators everywhere in this game, right? Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Dragon Ball. It is everywhere in this game.
Yeah, it is, and it is absolutely. So we're probably jumping into it too much, but it just when I see that team, and that team will never team up ever again. Unfortunately, it's just so insane. I find it so insane. It was such like. It's the equivalent for you to have like Peter Jackson, Spielberg, and who else does like good adventure stories?
But I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's all in one room. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No. But that's what Elden Ring was. You said earlier you don't think Elden Ring is this. It is this. It was George R. R. Martin and Hidetaka Miyazaki. That's true. That is a dream team.
It is. I would argue that it's not as genre defining, but anyway, that's another episode for.
That is a totally. That's a whole bonus episode, right?
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, should we jump into the narrative of this, because it is quite a narrative, quite a complex. Yeah, go on.
This game, I played it 10 years ago for the first time in 2012. That's the first time I touched this game.
Oh, really? Well, did you play the SNES one or the Nintendo DS? I know it got released.
SNES one.
Yeah, okay.
Right. I played it, and I got to the first time you visit the post-apocalyptic time zone, right? There are labs, an oppressed human race, and just mutants everywhere.
Yeah.
I met the robot party member. I can't remember what his name was.
I swear his name is Robo. Robo. That's what you couldn't remember, by the way.
Perfect. Robo. I met Robo, and that's when I stopped playing. I can't remember why. I think it was exams or something.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was exams, and I stopped playing, and then I haven't touched the game since, ever.
That's crazy, because that's not even that far until now.
Until this past week, I played Chrono Trigger, and I got to that exact point.
Did you get any further? Or
no, I did not.
Too many other things to do. Oh, shame. Yeah, no, that's what adulting getting in the way again.
Right? So I got the setup. I met Crono, Luca, Mal, Frog.
Yeah.
My favorite name in the entire game.
I know, Frog. You're still missing one character, by the way.
I know. There's the prehistoric lady.
Yeah, Ayla or Arla. I don't know how one is. Yeah, she's cool.
Let's go with Ayla. Because another prehistoric female protagonist, Aloy, is very... Ooh, do you think Aloy was inspired by Arla?
Let's just say yes, just because I like the idea that all games revolve around the same universe somewhere. It's all just one big metaverse, and they all live within the same universe. So yes,
I'm making my own meta narrative. I'm saying Ayla is Aloy's mom.
Yeah, that works. Yep.
And she just left Aloy in the mountain.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like this meta narrative.
That's it. Let's write this all down.
But so that's how far I got into the narrative. Not very far at all.
No, that isn't. It isn't particularly that far, because again, that I still cannot believe is that this was a SNES game, and the narrative is so in depth. There's so much.
Yeah,
it is like watching a few seasons of Dragon Ball Z. It's seasons of it. There is so much. Like, each character has its own, like, huge or sad or a groundbreaking moment, which is just, for a SNES game, that doesn't exist. It didn't exist. You know, there was the occasional Final Fantasy, and I can't remember if those came out before or after this game. I know a couple did, but I don't know if they were... I'm sure 6 didn't by then, did it?
6,
Final Fantasy
which
6.
At that time in the US was Final Fantasy 3.
Yeah, maybe it had come out.
6 release 1994.
Oh wow, so it came out the year before. So I guess
in Japan though, I'm not entirely sure when the US release was.
Okay. Well, either way, it's just the story. I can't get over what's all in there. I cannot get over all the different arc lines, all the different personal side quest type aspects to it, and it's sad. And I can't go too depth into it because there's so many spoilers.
No, of course not.
It's crazy. It's, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't really know anything about it, it's a motley crew of friends, I guess would be the polite way to do it, and they travel back on
teenagers.
They travel forwards and back in time to stop the end of the world, fundamentally. And there's lots. There's lots of going forwards to see what happened to what you did at the past and changing things in the past to affect the future, and all this like Doctor Who-esque or Back to the Future-esque type of grandfather paradoxes for you to try to sort out and save the world from the big bad.
But back when Doctor Who was still good.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, correct. Back when Doctor Who was still good.
Between the two of us, you're the only one that's completed this game, right?
Yes, but again, completed this game is kind of a bit of a special concept because there are 12 unique endings.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, so I've only completed one version of it.
Wait a minute, did you 12?
12 unique endings to this game. 13, I believe, if you've got the Nintendo DS version. They put another in there.
What?
Yeah, seriously, and it all depends on like certain aspects to when you fight. I can't remember like Big Bad's name. Vanos? Lavos, okay. Depending on when you fight him and you talk to Magus, like the bad warlocky fella, the story changes entirely. Like, completely. In each different variation. Hell, there's even one where you get Magus joins your party, comparing not to joining your party, and he goes to find his sister. All sorts of things. There are that many endings, so you've really got to play this game through and through.
Whoa! This was released 30 years ago?
Yeah, I know,
this was
right?
1995?
I know! It's crazy! It is, and it's one of those games you've got to play the story more than once, or you miss the subtleties. Because at some point, when you're playing it, I remember the first time I played it, I kind of started getting confused, because this person here, and I've got to go there, and I go back here, and I've got to go there, and I was forgetting all the names, and there's quite a degree of sub-characters, and sub-bad guys, like the reptilites or something, the reptile people, and the mutated people, and I got confused. But this is one of those games you play a few times so that you can actually see the nuances and like the storytelling where it actually does tie all together. It ties together really well. Like, there's one bit, spoiler ahead, where you have to leave Robo behind for 1,000 years so that he can help terraform and look after a planet.
Okay.
And that was sad. And then you go find him again.
After 1,000 years. Yeah, he has terraformed.
For you, it's just a jump in the time machine. One of like 3 time machines I might have in this whole entire game. But you then just jump in the time machine and go collect him again. But he's been there for 1,000 years, so he kind of gets a bit rusty and dirtier and stuff like that. No, it's insane. I love this. This game is insane. It's just the love child of 3 greats, and it's
great minds.
And it came out like one. It didn't have any huge faults. It didn't have any huge problems. It wasn't short or any of that. They literally must have been given all the time and all the money or whatever they wanted, because I guess it was Square, I think, at the time, just wanted this game to come out perfectly. Oh, it's just so good. But granted, I am a fanboy, so I am very biased.
No, I mean, if this is the type of game that you like, which thankfully we are, then this really is the perfect cocktail.
Yes, it is. It's like, if you haven't played it, it is. And it also ages really well, in my opinion.
Yes, that's it. I was playing it now, and I'm thinking, goodness, there's not a part of this that I don't like. That doesn't look bad or sound bad.
Yeah, I've been playing the Octopath Traveler type games quite recently, and then I picked this game up, and it's, apart from a different play style and voice acting, it's kind of just the same thing. It's literally 30 years later, and I give you Octopath is a bit of a throwback to the old days in a game in its own right.
Yeah.
But this game just holds up so well. The only downside, I guess, for today's generation, there's a lot of reading. There's just lots of reading.
I mean, yeah, but that's not the game's fault.
No, it isn't.
Society's just gotten lazy.
Yeah, I agree. Everything now is voice acted and done that.
Right.
But there's a lot of reading in this game. But the story is so cool. It's the equivalent of being annoyed about reading manga, because
that's it.
Every moment there is a bad guy or a new thing to defeat or a new crisis to avert, just like any other manga one would pick up.
Well, I think any story with loads of developments and unpredictable story beats, I think it's good. But I do think that this game is incredibly creative.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I got chased out of King Gordia's castle in present times, and the only place we could go to was through a time jump, right?
Yes,
otherwise
that's right. That's right.
Caught.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I can remember the excitement of thinking, okay, let's go through this time loop. And in the middle of this time jump, which now that I think about it, it's a loading screen. I thought, wait a minute, where the hell am I going? Right?
Yeah.
And so we landed in the post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah.
Which is just a situation of out of the fire into the out of the frying pan into the fire.
No, exactly right. Yeah, because at that moment,
I kept thinking, gee, whoa, right. That's creative. It's good.
Oh, it's right. Like I said, and it's got so many of those moments. Like I said, I don't want to ruin things, but there are other ways that you learn to time travel later on, because certain things happen to your time traveling method. Let's put it that way.
Come on.
And so yeah,
are you gonna make me play this game until I finish it?
Well, one of the endings at the very least. Oh, it's crazy. It is crazy. I do like that it was quite a bit funny later on. You have to go look for the item called the Sunstone, which just reminded me of Pokemon. I don't I just need to get the Sunstone so I can get a Sunflora or whatever the hell it evolves.
Are you gonna evolve Robos?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
into a Robo flower. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's got so much in there, and you really like only getting Robo. You're probably, I don't know, a fifth of the way through, I suppose.
Jeez, I don't even. A fifth even sounds a bit too far.
Yeah, it does actually. I'm trying to think like what else, because there are kind of like side quests.
Yeah.
To develop the stories of the characters and kind of like the areas or eras of which you're in. There were like semi-side quests to do. I so want to tell the narrative, but I don't want to spoil it. Because the narrative is mental. Like, even your favourite character, Frog, has a crazy story to it.
Yes. Okay. I'm invested now.
Yeah, Frog. Frog's cool. Frog is like, whoa.
We can talk about the entire narrative for Chrono Trigger in a bonus episode.
Yeah, we should do that.
That would be the perfect place for us to talk about just everything. Then you can tell me all of it, all 12 endings.
Yeah, I don't know it that well, but yeah. I certainly know kind of where they go, which avenues they take.
Speaking of, the narrative is great. All the places you visit. I like the characters, and I can only think the characters were... I know they were designed by Akira Toriyama.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit obvious.
No, I think so, yeah.
Their characters, was that also made by Akira Toriyama? Do you know?
I think 100%. Even if you take away the fact that Crono has the Dragon Ball Z hair and the Super Saiyan-esque style to him, you can't play the game and not think that that one's the Bulma, that one's the Frog. It is granted, Frog is your normal hero type knight who's regal and stuff. No, I'm 100% sure that's all down to his type of storytelling and his type of characterization, because, like I said, later on, there's lots of Final... like I say, it's hard to say now, because Frog kind of develops in the Final Fantasy trope type storyline.
Okay.
I won't go, his goes down that way. I'm trying to think what else happens. I think you can see exactly where Princess
Nadia's
storyline is going. It's kind of a cliche now as well.
Yes.
The escaped princess that then,
liberates herself or whatever.
Exactly. So because she's tired of being, it's kind of like Princess Jasmine from Aladdin and all those other cliches. And that story kind of develops the same way until she finds out that she needs to go back to her kingdom and stuff like that. The normal storyline. No, the characters are great. The characters, it's just but it's so much part of the storyline, and the storylines go back and forth between the eras to develop their personal stories as well. Like Princess Nadia has to go save her mother, which is kind of apparent because at one point they think she's her mother when they're back in time. And stuff like
okay. I played this part. It was her great grandmother.
Was it great grandmother? Sorry.
Yes.
That's right. And that develops further.
Lien or something.
Yeah, that's right. Something like that. I remember. Oh, it's so robust. Like, we could be doing this whole bit for an hour, me just going into the storylines of each one. And Robo is really sad because he's kind of like the last of his kind, and he saw the whole of the world kind of just crumble around him. He's one of my favourite characters. I love Robo. He's the saddest little robot, but he's also so plucky and upbeat and friendly. It's weird to say.
They give you this false sense that these characters aren't developed by giving them names like Robo and Frog.
Yeah.
And then they just hit you with...
They really do. You think, he's just a side character. His name's only Robo.
He's just called a robot.
And then your heart breaks in two when you hear his backstory and stuff like that. No, it's exactly it.
I liked that as the game develops, the areas in time that you go to are more extreme and more radical each time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The first time you time jump, it's just to save Princess Nadia. You go back in time 80 years.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Right?
Great.
And then after you go back to the present, then you time jump 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right? And then after that time jump, I think you time jump what? 100,000 years in the past?
Yeah, it's a good solid number. Yeah, I know.
And then near the end, I think near the end, I read you just time jump to. Oh, I don't even want to say, but the end of time.
Yes, that's pretty. You do exactly.
What?
You actually
that's crazy.
You actually kind of have a hub where there's like an old man, like old man time. I can't remember his name now. I'm not very good with names. Where you actually get to have a hub where you get different doors, kind of, to the different time periods later on. There's an old wise man there who, yet again, has his own story behind it. He's not just an old wise man. He's actually a bit more and yeah, again, it's so much there.
Jeez.
And you're right.
You start with an 80-year jump, and then at the end,
it just gets madder. Yeah, exactly. And it just gets madder and madder.
Ramping up the stakes like this is excellent. It's so good.
I still can't get over it's 30 years old. I cannot.
That's it.
I cannot remember a game. Now, I played the Final Fantasies, and I do love them, but none of it had. Well, Final Fantasy VI, like I said, was pretty good. So now I'm going back. I'm going into my fanboying. But this level of just storytelling in that era is so mind-blowing to me. I can't get over it.
For what people at the time still thought was just a kid's toy, right?
Yeah,
video
exactly.
Games. In 1995's, video games were still kids' toy things, right?
You know, we were jumping under Bowser to save Princess Peach. You know, that was the ending of games, and you know, they were fun and platformy, and they were fun. There were lots of legendary games that we all enjoyed, but this was TV, book, and game all in one thing.
Yeah,
it's
masterfully done. It really is. Final Fantasy VI. We keep referencing that game, but that really is the only contender.
Yeah, it's got the same play style and sprite style and everything about it. It's very true.
Square was this was prime Square.
Oh yeah, back in the day, Square were the storytellers. I wouldn't say so much now. They're kind of losing the plot a little bit, but we'll see what with Final Fantasy 16.
Oof, I'm hearing good things.
But they were such storytellers. They were definitely. You went to them when you wanted a game that was big and in depth, and like reading a book. Like I said, reading a fantasy book that you got to play, and that was their thing.
I like the fact that you can get a game like this, and the story will take you. If you play an hour or half an hour after school, whatever, it'll take you months.
Yes, no, entirely.
That is an epic, right?
Yeah,
in the most literal meaning of the word, that is an epic tale.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of buying a game now and it being a 1,000-hour storyline.
Yes.
Because we all play Skyrim and all these other open worlds that let you do these things, and there's lots of hours, and yes, it's very long and all this. But this was 30 years ago. This is the equivalency of having Skyrim, but times 20. There were so many hours just to get through the storyline and stuff like that.
And it's not just fetch quests the entire time.
Yeah, exactly right.
Go kill a boar and level up 100 times.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's
different areas, different worlds, different story beats, different characters. Mm-hmm. I keep also comparing this to what we have now, Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. Like I said, I did make that. It's that's very true. Elden Ring has the world, just not the story, in my opinion.
Right.
That's my biggest. I know we're going to go off my biggest fault with Elden Ring is its story. If it had this amazing story, it doesn't have to be long, but just this story that you got invested in, that game for me would have been. What young people call it, the GOAT or whatever, the greatest of all time. So
the issue with Elden Ring is it does have that story. It's just underneath too many layers.
Yeah, and it's too hard to get at. Like I know you know all the lore and everything behind it.
It's not very accessible.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we digress. We're going to rant on. We should probably jump into visuals sometime soon.
I mean, do we have to?
No, I'm perfectly fine. But this is going to be a banger of an episode for people. Damn.
The visuals I think of this game is, I'm trying to say this correctly, the part that didn't age as well as the rest of this game.
Yeah, well, that was inevitable to some degree, because of the SNES graphics engine that it is. You know, it can only do
Unfortunately,
so much.
yeah. A lot of people look at the visuals for games like this fondly, very fondly.
Yes, 100%,
it's endearing.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, it's straight out the palette. Everything is Dragon Ball Z. Even the the characterization of the eyes on like the bad guys you kill and the robots themselves, the shading and the colors, they're all out of the textbook of any Dragon Ball Z movie.
Akira Toriyama definitely had a style.
Oh, 100%, yes.
And that style had an audience. So, I mean, if you've got a winning formula.
Yes. And it's pasted all over this. But you were saying, like I said, it's just when I was playing it, I'm sure you probably never watched the original Dragon Ball, not the Z. When Goku was a young lad, with his red stick thing. I've never seen that. This is this type of graphics and the color palette is from that era, because Goku was up against the Red Ribbon Army back in the day, which were all fundamentally robots and stuff. And you can see that transitions straight over to this game, i.e. Robo, and in the future era that you go to, the whole style is the Red Ribbon Army type aesthetic.
Okay.
I digress, yeah.
The look of this game, it reminds me of a Studio Ghibli film.
Yeah, there was a Studio Ghibli-esque to it. No, I agree.
Right? Mainly due to the fact that I'm going to use this word again, is timeless.
Yes,
50 like years from film. Now, even when this game is 60 years old, people are still going to play it and look back at it and think, wow, this game is appealing to the eyes. It's good.
Well, there was another aspect which I actually forgotten about, which is silly really now I think about it, is back in the day, Final Fantasy and all the other things, random encounters, right? You walk around the screen and randomly you'd fall into a battle.
I know what you're going to say.
This doesn't have that. It had the, which is quite the trope now. If we look, Pokemon's only just started doing it. You have the enemies on the screen. You know what you're walking into. You know the mushrooms are hiding, and you think that's again. This is something that's cliched now. But 30 years ago, I'd imagine they were the first to do it. It didn't seem to catch on much when you look at all the Final Fantasy games later on and the like. But this was big. This was a big visual gameplay mechanic which they kind of invented just for this game. Because random encounters is a lot easier to do. You just make a random calculator, put two baddies in, there you go, you fight it out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. But no, they didn't do that. They had to animate each animal's realization you were there, everything. They had
to put them in the arena at a specific place.
And that's, again, it's visually... Now, I might be wrong. I can't think of another game that did that, especially 30 years ago.
No, I don't think they're... not RPG type games. Type games, no, they weren't. But if you're looking at, I don't know, Metal Gear, the first Metal Gear Solid game, it is a completely different game, but all the enemies were on screen. You could see them.
And like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games and the like, they were all I know what you mean. But this for like an RPG or a JRPG, depending on how you view things. This was new for me, and even now it was kind of a delight to kind of see that looks like a mushroom, and then all of a sudden it jumps out with arms and an angry face and then tries to kill you. And that was in regards throughout the whole game. The things that looked like something else would morph into something bad or something like that.
Yeah.
Which visually is just a lot more fun. It's so much more fun not to get that random encounter thing.
The part that I liked from this entire aspect, I think, I keep on arguing with myself: is this part of the gameplay or the visuals?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit of both. But I'll say it in this segment anyway, is that once you enter a battle, you can see the enemies before you approach them. Once you approach them and you enter a battle, there's no blank screen and then a battle arena like there is in Final Fantasy or Pokemon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You battle them then and there, right?
Like a straight transition type thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Crono just unsheathes his sword and a menu appears at the bottom.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You fight in that hallway or bush or whatever.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How did no other games do this?
I know.
Was it just too difficult to
I'm guessing it was.
on a cartridge?
Or too expensive to do. I don't know.
Expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. It like you said, another thing that they just didn't do but was in this game. I'm guessing when the Dream Team said do something, they just had to do it. there was no arguments. There was no we can't do that. They just said do it and get it done. This is it's just what just makes it. It's one of those things. I was playing this game and I was thinking myself, would I want this game as a remake or not? And I found it quite a hard question. Like, would you want this classic era-defining game to be redone? And I'm leaning more to the no.
What? No. Why are you saying that? That's a yes. Yes, thank you.
Would you? I just don't.
Yes.
There's certain
Are you
things.
kidding me? To make it look like Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, to look
yes. Yes.
I guess I've got too much nostalgia invested in it. I don't know why. I'd like it moved over to the Switch and all the other platforms so I could play it again easily. That I'm down with. But like fully rendered and like voiceovered and stuff.
Yes.
I guess I'm obviously the minority in this regard. Just yes in every way.
No, I mean, it's just the two of us. I think there's a ton of people that wouldn't want this remade, but I think it would be excellent to have this remade.
It would be cool. I would still play it if it was remade. It's not like I wouldn't pick it up and not play it. I would, of course.
Okay, let's put it like this. If this is remade, it does nothing to the original game.
Yeah,
right?
true.
You can still go back and play that game on your SNES or whatever.
Oh, I'd love them to do. Did you ever play them the new Monkey Island games? I like the Return to Monkey Island and all that. Did you know? The only reason I bring that up, you can press like F2 in that game, and it goes back to the original state. So, yeah, right. Whoa. You can play it with all fully rendered, cartoony loveliness, and then if you press F2 or something like that, it goes back to the original pixelated screen.
Aww.
I would love that in a Chrono game.
Okay.
That would be cool
for a nostalgia shot.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be really cool. Now if they did
now
that
that
in like those types of games.
Square Enix did the same thing for Dragon Quest 11.
Really? Yes, I think I remember reading that. I've never actually played it.
You know of this. There's a version of in Dragon Quest 11. What's it? Something elusive age.
Yeah, something like that. They've always got long names, the Dragon Quest games.
There's an option you can toggle that turns the entire game into a sprite-based SNES-looking type game.
I did. How did I not know this?
What? No, you should know this. The entire Dragon Quest 11 is sprite-based then. It looks like an SNES game, exactly like Chrono Trigger.
That's crazy. Yes, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That must be with the new release one, like the fully. They did the original release and then they released a ultra duplex super version like a year later.
Definitive edition.
Yeah, yes. That's it. Yeah, that's right. That's the weird names. Is it with that one? Because I've only played the first one. That's cool though. I didn't know that at all. Like that is fun. Like,
the entire Dragon Quest 11, which is not a short game.
No, it is not in the slightest.
That's a lot of game. You can play the entire thing in a sprite-based SNES style.
Oh, that's such
2D RPG.
That's such a great nod to the era,
right?
Because I played lots of the old games. That's so cool. I did not know that.
With them remaking Final Fantasy VII in such a grand way, I think of all companies, Square Enix. They know how to handle the nostalgia of their older customers.
Yes, he's hoping they continue because they've done some weird things with NFTs recently.
No! Let's not even touch that. So if they were to remake Chrono Trigger, I'm all in.
Okay, well, so back to visuals. It does. I'm always amazed, and I think the SNES era was one of the greatest parts of it because they really played with the color palettes of games. If you look between NES and SNES, they actually start dealing with shadow and light and stuff like that, which adds so much more 3D aspect to your 2D image. And I know most games like the SNES is really quite underrated because it is actually an amazing console. Even
underrated?
If you look at,
I don't think it's underrated. I think people give it a lot of praise.
Well, granted, I'm obviously around like nobody. I say underrated. It's me, and my dog doesn't like it much, so that's about it. No, I underrate it maybe because I'm still, even if you look at like Metal Slug games and all the other ones, if you actually look at the graphics design and the concept and the artistry in it, it's actually really quite in depth. And the idea that they can do that in such a little package. Yeah, in that little package to do so much. And it's the same thing came across in Chrono Trigger.
How many colors does the SNES have?
I actually don't know. I was thinking that same thing when I was doing this.
The Super SNES used in the Super SNES has a 15-bit RGB color palette.
15-bit? That's
with up to 256, so 256 simultaneous colors.
That's cool.
Oh, wow. But in total, it's got 32,768 colors.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I can now see them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I said, I am, and it's so bright in these things, and it does, again, it just reminds me of watching Dragon Ball Z, which is another nostalgia kick when I'm playing the game. So, it works in so many ways for me.
There is a definitive group of people, a large group of people, that this game just it scratches a certain itch that just can't be scratched anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I
agree
entirely,
people try with Octopath Traveler 2
mm-hmm.
And the Dragon Age 11 option switch that we talked about earlier. They try, but there's really nothing like Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, especially for someone our age, or my age, and then slightly your age. Because I often wonder what youngsters would think when picking this up. Like, is it boring? Is it too much writing? I'm guessing those would be one of the biggest headaches in regards to it.
I think it'd be, like you're going past something in a museum.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Just a quick look and think, oh, okay, cool. So that's what it used to look like. Anyway,
let's go to the gift shop. Yeah, no, no, I agree entirely. It's makes me feel old thinking about it, but I think you're right.
I don't know. I think this is a game to cherish, that you played it way back when.
This is one of the games you force your children to play, even though as a child, you always like force kids to read. It's like, stop playing games, pick up a book, and then you say, oh no, you've got 1 hour of reading today. You got to read The Hobbit or something like that. I think this is one of those games, in the future with all the technology we have, this is one of the games you've got to force your youngster to play, even though they want to play VR.
I don't know.
Maybe I've got a weird view on child rearing. That's probably why I don't have any. I don't know. It's one of those games everyone should play.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. It's just funny to hear you say that.
It's a bit too aggressive.
When I was young, we used to go camping in the woods with a stick.
Exactly. It's that type of era.
My kids to do the same.
Exactly. You're locked in that room until you've saved Robo.
Go save him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I think you talked earlier about color palettes. I think I wrote this down on my notes here. It is quite excellent that you could, from just looking at the scenery, right, on the overworld, you can so easily tell in which time period you are.
Yeah, and it was quite in depth, the detail, right?
Yeah.
As well, like the buildings and stuff. But yeah, you're right. I agree. Keep going.
Right, you could only. There's not a lot of things you can interact with on the overworld, but from just using the color palette, there's a ton of detail, just different buildings and whatever, and trees and mountains, and it sounds simple, but if you actually look at the overworld, it's incredible. You can't interact with much except from this place to this place.
That place, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that is it. But they didn't have to go into so much detail, but they did, and it's great. And the color palette, it lends a lot.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And the dystopianness of the dilapidated buildings later on, and the orangey palettes of the caveman era, and all the other things that are associated with it. No, it is. It just. I know I keep gushing, so to speak. It just all works so well.
Yeah, and it jumps between genres.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think what I talked earlier about running away from the castle and then going through a time jump, and then 3 seconds later you're in a sci-fi dome with robots and mutants. What? I just came from a fantasy setting, and now we're genre jumping in 1995.
Exactly right. Yeah, you would expect like you jump and then be in like a mysterious forest where you get to like rest and save and just be like, oh, okay, new place to explore. But no, they jump you into the I'm trying to not find a swear word. They jump you into the mess of a situation almost straight away.
That's it. Out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, exactly right. Like
constantly.
you said, that's exactly right. Okay, what did you think of the audio, Mr. Audio Man?
Here it is. This is the other part. The narrative, timeless, 10 out of 10. Audio is the other part that is timeless and 10 out of 10. I listened to the soundtrack for this game and I couldn't stop. The 32-bit soundboard or sound matrix they used to create these tracks was pushed to the absolute limit. Chrono Trigger composer. Let me just Google that.
Yeah, I actually wrote his name down, but I can't find it now.
Mitsuda.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Yasunori Mitsuda. And Nobuo Uematsu, the same that what was it? The Dream Team man.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he's Final Fantasy guy, and Yasunori Mitsuda. Somehow, I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he was able to push a soundtrack this good out of the SNES, out of the SNES.
It is sometimes. I know you probably. So some of the music. The only word I wrote down was majestic.
Majestic. That's right. A lot of these songs are majestic.
How do you do that with such a limited, field, so to speak? I don't know much about music, but you've got such a limited cone of notes and sound effects you can use, but you make songs that are so almost opera, like you find in an opera, or you'd find in I don't know, just a fairy tale,
classical works.
Yeah,
it is. People that have not played this game think we are just, I don't know, gushing for nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Thinking, oh, it's not so good. What are you talking? It's fine, sure. Go play the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Just go play the game from start to finish, and then tell me you don't agree. I dare you.
And in this regard, it's very one of the weird things. I'm not so much with the SNES, but when you play on Nintendo, very few people play with the sound up. They play it at a low to medium volume.
Oh, are you talking about Neanderthals? Yes, I know a couple of them. Skulking around with
their Nintendos, not using
booga, no sound.
But yeah, this is one of those games you really need to, or you should really turn up the volume. 100%. Even to make it loud. I know not many people play loud, but make it loud because there's not really voice acting and stuff like that. There's just sound effects and the music. And
I still don't understand. This came from, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, it's fine.
This came from an era, the SNES era, where music had to do just almost all of the carrying, right?
No,
but you had no music, and you had to go from point A to point B, and there were battle encounters in between.
That's right.
It would have been boring as hell.
It's like Mario, for example. That's why we all know the Mario songs.
Exactly.
Because they were the backbone of platforming. You'd enjoy the platforming, but the music got you amped for it.
It's incredible. It is incredible.
But I just love the even when you went to the past, future, and present, the different music styles. It's a cliche that the future one was all cyberpunky and more
dystopian.
And like a synthesizer type aspect sounds to them.
That's it.
And then when you went to the past, it was either quiet or less
drums or bongos.
Yeah, exactly right. It's got that initial. Again, when you said visually, you know where you are, but audio-wise, you knew where you were too. You could close your eyes and say, "Oh, I'm in the future now. I'm in the past now. I'm in the castle now." There was even medieval music for the castle aesthetic.
I feel like I'm saying this every episode, but people underestimate. I do say
that's
this
your
every
thing.
Episode.
That's your thing.
People underestimate the power and importance audio, music, voice acting, all of these things have on a game. This game gets it. This game gets it. 30 years ago, this game got it.
Yeah, and I might point out there's one bit, again, Nick doesn't know this, I'm not going to say who, where someone kind of dies. And the music and the tragedy there, if it makes you feel any better, they kind of fix it. They do own a time machine.
You keep saying kinda.
But the music there is really tragical. It really is damn. You played Final Fantasy VI where you think you've lost, or you do lose to Kefka?
Yes,
It's the same scenario where you think, what can we do now? We were building up to all this stuff, and then this has now happened.
How do we go overcome this extreme oppression?
Yeah, and you should hear the music then. It is so soulful and kind of drastic.
Great. It doesn't happen often enough.
No, exactly, right.
I think because it was so limiting to create these tracks on the SNES, they had to do a lot of melody work.
Yes, I agree, yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of the songs do have such incredible, memorable melodies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The first one I picked up was at the very start of the game, the Millennial Fair.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that, yeah.
Right? It's such a tune. It sticks in your head.
Very joyful and fun.
Right? Editor, please put in a bit of the Millennial Fair right here. It is. I don't get it, and that's just one song.
That's like the first. That's pretty much the first song, but like
right? It doesn't really appear again.
No. Well, yeah.
But there are so many, like the main theme, even the Millennial Fair. I wrote down a couple here: the wind scene, the day the world revived, the undersea palace.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the undersea palace. Yeah, that's true.
I went through this soundtrack and I was stunned.
No, it's awesome.
10 years, 20 years later, games still struggle with this.
No, 100%. I agree. I'm trying to think now. Like Elden Ring, did that have a good soundtrack? I don't really know. Not played the game. This is the we compare it to. Good soundtrack.
Wow. Each time I put on Elden Ring, I just stay on the main menu just so I can hear the song.
How about in-game, though? Because we all know...
In-game, still very good. Still
is
very
it really?
Good. Yes. Each area you go to, Caelid, Limgrave, Weeping Peninsula, the Liurnia of the Lakes, the Altus Plateau, Mountaintops of the Giants. Dave, it's all good! Sorry for shouting.
I've opened a can of worms there, damn.
In the Altus... I'm getting fired up. In the Altus Plateau, there is... You won't recognize it if you don't have a classical background, but there's an oboe, just a single oboe playing a single note, right?
Okay. That's cool.
That cool. One note from that one oboe, it lends to the entire atmosphere of the Altus Plateau. It lends to the creep. There's a creepiness factor to it. It lends to the I don't even know, just the grandiose openness of this flat Altus Plateau. It's one note from one instrument.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I was just asking to see if you could compare it to the soundtrack to this game, and I think the answer is yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, David, you can.
Yes, Dave. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. This is, like I said, it's always good. I like seeing your views on the audio because I don't have the background at all. I like good music and sound effects and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know far more in depth what's there and how it's made, and
I do.
You see the nuances that will just go above me. But it's fun to listen. It is fun to listen to you.
They're here in Chrono Trigger. These nuances, and people haven't picked it up.
Until now.
This is until now. The day Critical Arcade.
Exactly.
It's 30 years ago. This game has been here for game makers or composers to study.
Yeah.
Right? And this game doesn't even have voice acting, and I scored a 10 out of 10.
I still, every time we keep mentioning 30 years ago, my mind just goes, what?
That's it. Compared to how old gaming is.
Yeah.
How old is gaming? 50 years? 83?
Yeah, I'd say probably older than 50, depending on what you define it. Probably about 60 something. I know my father is now 70, and they definitely had like a... What's it called? Pong and stuff like that?
Yeah,
or at least very basic games back then. So yeah, it's been around for a while. Yeah.
Okay. It is... I don't get how...
I know. It's a miracle game. There's no doubt. Yeah. This was
people that
game.
haven't played this game think we're overselling.
I know. I agree. We must
go play Chrono Trigger.
I agree. But also, yeah, I feel bad because people are going to play Chrono Trigger after playing Elden Ring and God of War and say, this is not so great. But you've got to have the understand where it came from. Just like you said, like a history museum. Unless you like history and they go, so that's how they made fire. If you don't have that interest of where it came from, if you pick it up, you won't enjoy it as much because it's not Kratos going, boy, and all the cool things we're accustomed to now. Still, play it, but go with the mindset that this was...
Exactly.
This is the reason you have Kratos now.
That is it.
And you have Elden Ring. Yeah, exactly. These are the reasons.
It's if you're susceptible to feeling the oldness of a game, don't play it, because this game is gonna feel old to you. It is gonna feel old to you. But if you can handle old games like the older Final Fantasies or this game, please do yourselves a favor. Just set aside some time or a couple of months to play this at your own pace.
Yeah,
do it.
No, I agree entirely.
This is the type of game that I want to see on our show, right? Sorry, a slight segue. We made a huge sheet. We've mentioned this before. We made a sheet of 2,000 games, and each week it picks a random game. So to get Chrono Trigger on episode 30, that's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, that was really quite joyful. I must admit, it's a weird thing, but that was quite, made me smile for the rest of the day, so to speak.
Yeah,
because
No, you're right. You're right. There's a very, very low chance, less than a 0.01% chance of that happening,
That's
and
true.
it happened. So anyway, that was completely that had nothing to do with what's next. Gameplay.
Gameplay. Let's jump. Nice segue to gameplay there. Gameplay wise, again, I couldn't get over like the new things they added to it. I picked up this game and I started playing it again, and there's, I forget what there is in it, and then just the simple premise that your special attacks can combo up. I was I forgot that.
Yes.
That's still not a thing. That wasn't
it isn't.
a thing. You got limit breaks and stuff in Final Fantasies and all this. But your moves comboed, so you could play around with your play styles and your other characters and try to see what new moves would come up when.
And they did it smart.
Yeah,
they did it smart, right? Combining the tricks they already have, like Luca's fire gun and Crono's sword.
Yeah, that's right. I just thought. Yeah, again, I know we're gushing over something that sounds really simple, and it kind of is, but it didn't exist. This was a very small little thing they added to the game which just blew your mind again, because you've already got the art style, and you got the music, and you got the story, and then even the gameplay has these little nuances and little fun little bits to add and do and to find out, which just makes playing the game so much easier because it's quite long.
But I think
you find out new things.
Right. I think you got it just now. This game has just a ton of small things that add up. And eventually, they aren't so small anymore.
No, it's either.
And eventually, it's 2 tons of small things.
And even the battles get complex later on. Like the move systems and the healing. And I know it's a cliche in the healing and stuff like that, but bad guys have resistances and vulnerabilities that you have to find out yourself. It's not just a case you can just spam the best move that you've got because it's super powerful. There's actually quite a bit of in-depth aspect to the and there was even a distance thing. In regards to if you're far away, you could spam your long distance because then they can't counter. But if you're close up, a lot of the bad guys often had a counter to a physical attack. So there was strategy to this little fighting, little arena thing.
It's all because of the dynamic battle arena. Each battle arena was different. It was dynamic, right? Sometimes you'd start a battle and now there came in enemies from the back. Suddenly, you're flanked.
Yeah, exactly right. No, exactly. And you had to make a plan. No, exactly right.
This dynamic battle arena system that Chrono Trigger made 30 years ago was incredible. The gameplay aspect it lent to the game was next to none. Not even Final Fantasy VI did this.
No, exactly right. No, exactly right. It really didn't. This was all new. And, oh God, just... I say, this is a very gushy episode, I'm not going to lie. Yes. But just everything... And I like 12 endings in a game. I know we brought it up before, but gameplay-wise, you have to make certain decisions to get different endings, so it kind of segues in. But that wasn't a thing. I cannot remember maybe a game 30 years ago that had more than one ending. Maybe 2, like good and bad.
Yeah.
You do the good choice or the bad choice. That was often the thing that still is today. But 12 different endings. That means there's narrative arcs and branches, that they had to account for and redo and rescript and visualize and build audio for each different ending to some degree. I find it, again, 30 years ago, this is mind-boggling stuff. I know that Elden Ring's got, 5 different endings, and... Is it 5? Sorry, I don't know.
4 or 3, I think.
Okay, either way. I know multiple endings is quite a common thing now, to some degree.
Or it's not as a spectacle.
No, exactly.
Right, but if you hear a game has multiple endings, you think, oh, okay, that's cool.
That's true. It's not a selling point anymore, is it? You just think you can replay it at some point again and probably go... But this was... Again, 30 years ago, this didn't exist. This was madness. Like, what kind of wizards are that they made a game that had so many endings? This wasn't a thing.
The dream team.
It really was. It really is one of those scenarios where all the things came together to create something that worked. And it's very rare for that actually to happen.
Yes, truly. It happens more nowadays. I can't even say that it happens more often than not, because we still get a lot of duds today even.
100%. Yeah. It is very rare. You could suggest Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are the same example.
Yes.
You know, I'd even give both those stories when you had an underdog director that never did it before, and then you get the right people and then play it, and then you make something like that. It's the same thing with this game. Granted, you haven't got the underdog director in this regard, but it could have been it could have been the dream team, and they made a bad game, and that the ramifications from that would have been massive.
Yeah,
but anyway,
too many cooks in the kitchen for
exactly
that type of thing.
Yeah.
What I think out of all my scores, gameplay was maybe the lowest. But saying that, it wasn't low at all. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it a 9. It wasn't perfect.
Okay, so get it. The gameplay is good. It's good. It's great. I like it a lot. The gameplay loop they created here is the same as in the Final Fantasy games of this era, but much more fluent, much better. Really, there's no blank screens in between. You'd be traversing the open world, going into an area, and then you'll see an enemy. You approach the enemy. I said this before. You unsheath your sword and you start battling.
Yeah.
That's it. After the battle, you sheath your sword again and then you continue walking.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
blank screens,
it is seamless.
No loading screens. It's seamless. The gameplay loop they created here was better than Final Fantasy at the time.
No, I agree entirely.
And Final Fantasy was at the top.
Yeah, 100%. Final Fantasy's got the randomization, the attack, and then the treasure screen or whatever. You know, when you get your experience and the items and your money, and it breaks it all down for you. This doesn't have that. You keep going on. You get these little pop-ups saying you've leveled up or you got an item, but that was it. You could just keep walking, and you're right. That adds that immersion that you're the warrior and you're not here to just level up and grind. You're here to save the world. No, it is. Again, that didn't happen. All the Final Fantasy games had the same thing. Random encounters, fighting, status screen. And then all of a sudden, this came out.
Yeah, it's not like the Final Fantasy gameplay loop was bad.
No,
it was good. This one is just better. But
it's fascinating.
I would say this is the part that has not aged as well as the audio or the narrative.
Yes, no, I agree.
It's still fine. It's still extremely playable. It just didn't age as perfectly.
No, I agree. No, I agree. Like I said, whereas we tote it as a 30-year game.
Yeah.
It has aspects of it that it's a 30-year game that's not as polished as now it could be, and we got to grade it in that regard. But Oh yeah, sorry for interrupting. No, go on. I was pretty much finished.
You played the DS version.
I played both versions, but yes.
Oh.
Not recently, but I have played both versions.
What are some of the differences?
The DS version's a little more polished graphically. The DS version, I believe, has anime cutscenes on certain on certain aspects to like the storyline. It's actually fully animated. Yeah, again in Dragon Ball Z type style, so it's all there. There's not many of them, but yeah, it's got some animated cutscenes in it.
Okay.
Which are pretty cool. There's no doubt.
Of course.
They are pretty
Akira Toriyama
badass.
style animated cutscenes.
Yeah, exactly. So you get to see all the characters like fully fleshed out and stuff, it is pretty cool.
That's oh wow, that's like what Ni no Kuni did.
Yeah.
Right? Ni no Kuni. Yeah, they Level 5 made Ni no Kuni, I think 2013, with Studio Ghibli. and then Studio Ghibli actually made a lot of the 2D cutscenes.
Oh yes, no, of course, yeah. I see where you're going now. Yes, exactly right. Yeah, and there's another ending in it, and there's a little bit of the user interface that is streamlined a little better to use the touch screen at the bottom and stuff like that. Some
quality of life improvement.
Yeah, exactly. That's about it. But it's well worth getting either version of the game. Granted, the DS one is a lot cheaper than the SNES one, as you can imagine.
Of course.
But yeah, they do some improvements, and I believe they've even improved it a little bit more on Steam. I think Steam's also run through some texture upgrades or smoothing of the edges or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Is Chrono Trigger part of... Oh, this is probably a part of the later conversation in value for money. Is it part of Nintendo's Switch Online?
Not that I could see. I might be wrong. Okay. I can't say I'd figured that I'd noticed that by now.
Yes.
Because just in my general shopping and looking around, I'd have spotted that. I may be wrong, but I don't think it is.
Okay. No, moving back to gameplay, I think... What? That was quite a segue off of the gameplay loop.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's really not much else. We can go on about the gameplay. This being a Squaresoft game, lending just a ton from Final Fantasy. I like the exploration.
Mm.
But if you've played a 2D SNES RPG, you know what you're in for.
Yeah, exactly right. This is just the peak performance one, and it's like I said, there's so much. It's just like I said, this could be hours upon hour episode if I even just dived into the narrative for like half a minute. Like there is so much there. Did you find any bugs your side?
Bugs.
Yeah, performance issues, bugs.
There's... How do you even... No, nothing.
No, same here.
None.
It's
right?
one of those...
Not even bugs, but loading screens.
Yeah,
almost none.
Practically nothing. I saw nothing. I couldn't get anything.
How? This came from it's incredible.
The only bug I found is at the beginning, at the festival, I could never win that bloody race. At the festival, you know there were those guys running around like a goblin.
Yes, I remember.
I kept betting on them, and I kept losing. I didn't win it once. And in my mind, I'm considering that a bug. It was tainted. It was a cheat. They were cheating. I didn't win it once.
It was rigged.
Exactly.
It was rigged. They set it up against you.
I'm sorry. I did that like 6 times. And that cat, the cat, like almost always won, except for when I chose the cat.
Of course. Of course that would happen.
I'm calling that a bug. That's a bug for me.
Well, besides your very obvious bug, I didn't have any. No, there weren't any loading screens like most games would have. No break in between gameplay segments. We talked about this earlier. It's just a seamless transition from traveling to battling, back to exploring.
Yeah, this is just... It is a solidly built game. There was nothing there.
Right?
It is what it is.
I'll say it again. For $19.95.
Jeez. It's like I can't get over how many people I know that they weren't born, but they also... nieces and nephews who are like 15 years old. They weren't not only born, but their entire life before that was when this game came out. So everything they are now... And then some. I know it's a weird thing, the way to describe it, but it's just really weird to think it's that old, and I'm that old, for lack of a better term. And it's still so good.
Yeah, it is. You said it. It is a solidly built. This was built by people who knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
really.
And to be honest with you, this ain't going to come round again. Like that dream team are never going to work.
Unfortunately not. Games just don't. Now, I mean, we said this earlier as well. The dream team is. Or a dream team would be the team for Elden Ring. You know, Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin. That's an excellent collaboration. Probably not to the caliber of Uematsu, Toriyama, and the other guy. But no, you're right. This isn't going to come around again.
No, exactly. So this is one of those diamonds in the rough. You know, one of those gems.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And sadly, when the infrastructure of the gaming industry right now is never going to come up again. It's too competitive. It's too cutthroat.
It's quite sad.
It's just never going to happen.
Executives have gotten a hold. They see what type of money games can make, and they're never going to let go.
No, exactly right. And you're right that they'd argue over artistic this and direction that and stuff like that. It just wouldn't work.
It's already happening in film.
Yeah, exactly right.
A film
exactly
is made,
right.
and then executives say,
drop out.
Okay, it seems audiences are relating to jokes. Let's put a joke in the middle of this funeral scene.
Yeah, exactly right. No, exactly. And no, you're right. Oh, and it wasn't the direction I wanted to take it, so we've had to hire a new you're right. Yeah. It's everybody's obsessed with their own opinion to some degree.
It's the worst.
Anyway, price-wise, what did you think?
This one is weird. It is always a bit difficult when we talk about older games, right? Games from the 90s. How much does a copy of Chrono Trigger go for?
Are we talking like physical now?
Yes.
Like for the SNES, like a second-hand one?
Yes.
You're talking between like $200 to $300 quite easily. Oh. Yeah, second-hand, like brand new, it's closer to $500 to $1,000, like quite easily.
I can imagine $1,000 would be correct.
Exactly.
Jeez. Wow. If you bought this way back when, even if you played it second-hand, this is a good investment at this point.
No, yeah. Even the if you got hold of the DS version, which is the newer version, that's like I wrote down like $50 to $90 game secondhand.
That's still quite.
And that would have that would have printed quite a lot of them. You know,
yeah,
you can imagine SNES numbers compared to DS numbers.
Because it was already a classic by that time.
Yeah, exactly. But luckily, you can also pick these games up on Steam. Hell, you can even pick it up on the Play Store, which I noticed, I didn't expect you to play this on your mobile.
No, Square Enix, they've even released a ton of Final Fantasy games on the phones, on mobile.
And I got those at about $15 a piece. I don't know if you found anything cheaper.
No. I didn't research.
No, it's around $15. And it's always going to stay that price point, to be honest with you, because it's such a legendary game. This is one of those games I don't think you're ever going to find for like $5. Because it's too
unfortunately
good.
Not.
Yeah, it's got too much of a pedigree.
I'm just hoping they release it on Nintendo Switch online.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool.
That is one of the games that they can put on.
No, I agree. And one of those weird... I'd love to see what that looked like on the new screen of the Switches. I know it's weird because they'd have to scale it up, but I guess they scaled it up for the Steam releases anyway, right? Because of the
I guess so.
Monitors. No, definitely. I would like that on the. It could be on the Switch. I just can't remember seeing it there, and it didn't come up when I was looking for prices on it either. So I presume it would have done.
But even just with its actual monetary value aside, this game is 100% worth it.
100%, yes, I agree.
Right? It is timeless, pun intended. It is timeless. You know,
if I had the money, I would pay $50 to $100 or something for it. If I had that spare, because I would like to. There's that comfortable feeling of knowing that you own a masterpiece, like if you put a picture on the wall or something like that.
Oh yeah, you get it framed. Or
exactly. This is one of those games you would make sure was displayed on your shelf, like face out, so it's not just the spine. You get to see it and go, I own it. Yeah, exactly. But right, exactly.
Even just playing it, this can 100% still be played, and your time would still feel respected and valued. It was
exactly.
A good play. It has some extreme staying power.
Yes,
right?
100%.
Just the mixture of the gameplay, right? The music, the narrative of all things. The narrative
is big. Like we talked about it quite a lot, but there's so much more there. Like I'm so tempted to tell you about Frog, but I can't do it. Frog has such a story. They all do, but Frog's is cool. Yeah. Frog's is so cool.
Anything else for value for money?
No, that's fine. I'm good.
This game is just, there's so much more you can say about it, because people are still talking about this game 3 years later. It is 100%. Incredible. It really is. We scored this game quite highly, both of us. We gave it some fat scores, right? Those scores time jumped 1,000 years into the future, 80,000 years into the past, and somehow we got it back. It terraformed the planet, and we got it back. And we gave Chrono Trigger SNES Classic 1995 the letter grade rating of A.
Our first one. Our actual first ever A. That's better than God of War Ragnarok.
It is, yes. It's better than God of War Ragnarok. And in my humble opinion, it is better than God of War Ragnarok.
And it's 30 years old.
We gave that game an A-.
Yeah.
This game an A, and I am super cool with that.
Yeah, same here. Like I said, I know ladies and gents, we're gushing a lot, and yeah, okay. So we do have a bit of a bias to this type of... Well, I certainly do. But this game is so good, and I just can't get over how old it is, and how when you play it, that doesn't come across. No, it's a little bit, ever so slightly, but I just can't get over that.
What? It's like watching an old movie. The Godfather Part 1. What's that? 70-something.
Yeah, something like that. I can't...
Or Episode 4, A Last Hope. That's 77.
Yes, that's true. That is. That I agree.
That doesn't feel so old.
No, exactly. No, there's just everything about this. Get it, play it. If you can, own it. If you've got that type of money.
That's a lot of money.
It is. But yeah, everything about it. This is rightfully taking the first place on our list so far. I'm intrigued to think what game might knock it off its spot. That'd be exciting to find out.
I don't know.
That's going to be difficult.
Is it? I don't know. I think this is here to stay.
Yeah, I think you could be right, but we'll see. There are games still to come that might, blow us away. Who knows?
You're right. Digimon World 4.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, hell no.
That's the contender, right? They're right there. Not so much.
I think what might knock it off could be Final Fantasy 7.
Even I am a big Final Fantasy 7 man. I'm not gonna lie, but this one just did too much.
Oh,
I know,
that's a big statement.
I am a big Final Fantasy fella, but no, this one did more. I'm sorry.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Critical Arcade Podcast. If you'd be so kind, leave us a review on wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps us a ton just to break the mold, please.
Yeah, please.
You can follow us on our social channels, on Facebook, on our Instagram, and you can also catch us on email. You can get me at nick@criticalarcade.com.
And I'm Dave at criticalarcade.com.
Besides your email, Dave, where can we follow you?
Well, this is a bit different. Now, you shouldn't want to follow me, but this time round, I'm going to do everyone a favour. If you follow me, I will lock you in a room with a copy of this game and make you play it all the way through. Now, that's a long amount of playing. Don't get me wrong. And this sounds like a punishment, but in the end, you will come out and you will shake my hand, and there will be lovely music as you walk off into the sunset, because that's what will happen. So I know that makes you sound like you should follow me,
but please
be prepared.
If you walk into the sunset, just leave our copy of...
Yes, please, yeah. If it's an original, by all accounts, please make sure you don't take that, or you'll be running into the sunset, I'm sure.
Thanks. That doesn't sound too bad, to be honest.
No, exactly, right?
Support us on Patreon for exclusive content, where we've got bonus episodes. We just got a ton of ideas for bonus episodes. We can do an entire spoiler episode for Chrono Trigger, right?
Yeah, let's write it down.
We can have a bonus episode on that. There's a lot of good things. And Critical Cinema. It's this exact show, but for film and movies.
Yeah,
join us for that.
I'll ask him this quick. Have you watched The Godfather, Nick? You brought up The Godfather. Have you watched it?
I did. I have not.
Hey, see? And there's another episode of Critical Cinema right there, because Nick, for some reason, hasn't watched The Godfather.
I'll get to it. I'll watch it for the show. How about that? My first impression for The Godfather is going to be recorded. Jeez, just to segue to the next conversation, what are we playing next week, Dave?
Oh, yes, sorry. I'm still trying to get over you haven't watched The Godfather. I'm still... A good game and The Godfather. It's just too much for my brain. Next week, we're playing a game I've never actually... They came out and they were on Xbox, I think they mainly came out on. The Splinter Cell game franchise, and we're playing Double Agent, which... Have you ever played any of the original Splinter Cell games?
I've played the first Splinter Cell game on PC.
Yeah, I think I watched my brother play.
I do get the appeal.
Yes. It's kind of like a Metal Gear Solid, but without the bizarre storyline and snakes and hot coldplay and stuff like that.
It's a lot more, how do I say, dipped in realism.
Yeah, like 24, right? Solid. It plays out like Kiefer Sudderland 24.
Exactly. You don't get a Doctor Strangelove and a man What happened in Peaceful? Oh, his wheelchair had legs.
Yeah, that's what people like about Metal
It's
Gear
just
Solid.
a normal Doctor Man and a normal wheelchair.
Yeah,
and it's very realistic.
It is fun, right? We'll see. So yeah, tune into next week's episode for Splinter Cell Double Agent.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Critical Arcade Podcast. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.